who you are. Like, who is Julie Martin? The floor is yours.
So, Julie Martin is currently 53. She lives in London. She has a daughter of 23 and a son of 19. And she was married for 22 years to what she didn't know until 15 years into that marriage was a wonderful man who had a very serious gambling problem. Um, I only found out when the children were about 7 and 11 years old, when things began to go wrong in our life, um, and things began to unfold, that he had such a serious addiction to gambling. And that story and what sort of unfolded from there has meant that today I work for a charity called Bet No More. It's a UK charity based in the UK, but is also branching out into America now, Massachusetts. And it tries to help people both in recovery or gamblers or their families from the gambling harm that has happened to them because of the product and the fact that it's not regulated enough to keep people safe. So that's where I am today.
To keep people safe. And that's what we have running on the ticker right there. So it's www, for those that can't watch and that are listening, so it's www.betnowmore.org. BETKNOWMORE.org. And that is the, now, is that a nonprofit or is that an actual company? Like, can you tell us?
No, we're a fully fund. We have to rely on funds for the charity to run. We make no money for what we do.
So is that the equivalent? I don't know what it is in England, but here that would be considered a 501c3. Is that the same? Do they call it the same thing there?
It doesn't get called the same thing, but as I say, we have to rely on funding through government and other regulatory bodies to give us the funding to be able to do the work we do to help the people.
And that's directly through your website.
Yes, if you go to the Bet No More website, you'll be able to see all of the services we provide, all of the people that we help. We're also on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. So all of the information that you would need on Bet No More would be there.
All right. So I'm going to bring it up so that we can. Let's do that right there. We have something on there. I'll flash your stuff in a second. We'll wait for that to load up. But let's see. And we'll have to do that in a second for reasons not coming up. But I would assume that, and like I said, I can only assume that you didn't just, it didn't just fall out of the sky that you wanted to do this. So it was something that you felt the need to do and that you wanted to, that was your way of saying, you know what, I'm not going to run away from this. I'm not going to try to just go heal. I want to help people. I want to be part of something. So going forward, maybe the same thing doesn't happen to somebody else. Am I correct by saying that?
Absolutely. About 5 years ago, before I actually my family became in the crisis of gambling harm, I'd already joined a charity called Gambling Harm UK and was doing good work with them to try and bring awareness to people about the fact that potentially gambling can overtake your life. I've always said I'm not anti-gambling. I never have been. There are many, many hundreds of thousands of people who can bet happily and safely with money that they can afford and enjoy it, like watching a movie or sitting with Netflix or going out for a meal. It's not about those people that we worry about. It's about the people that can't control the amount that they spend and then end up spending money that they can't afford. So, as I say, I joined this kind of charity sector about 5 years ago, and then decided through things that have happened in my life, which I'm sure we'll talk about,
Yeah.
It was more that I needed to do, more awareness that I needed to bring, and more help that I needed to give people. And I do that both through my work, which is obviously my job, but also on my social media, personally, just bringing awareness, keeping people positive and keeping people safe.
So we have, as you can see, we have your website up over there. Um, I'm guessing once again because I don't know, but you not only, I mean, to have people say, okay, well, here's the website, and so they are aware of it. So you're going to post these type of things on your social media to get the word out, to raise awareness,
Hmm.
because this seems to me, this is, I mean, we have Gamblers Anonymous here. And it's not that you're advocating against gambling. You just mentioned that because that's
No,
obviously
not at all.
it's the first thing people are going to say. Oh, she's anti-gambling and it's so popular. But that's not what you're saying. You're saying that
No.
this is what happened to me. This is what could happen. Be aware. Be have your wits about you type of thing. Because this is
Hmm.
beyond just a Gamblers Anonymous thing. This website, I would think that people are coming to you via email or in your instant messages or whatever and
Hmm.
saying, "Hey, Julie, tell me more. How can I help?" Let's say even better, or just reading about it. I see it says work with us, support and information, your situation. Let's go on that one for a minute. I'm just curious on what. Uh, so there it is. So discover resources tailored to your specific needs and situation, offering guidance and support to navigate challenges effectively. And then little things here, which it looks like whoever put this together did a great job. I want to help speaking to someone. I want to stop gambling. Very poignant. Boom, right, right. There's no ifs, ands, and buts about it. It's very direct. I'd like to help managing my relationship with gambling. I'm not sure about my current gambling. I want to explore my relationship with gambling. What does gambling harms mean? So it's like you're breaking it up for the different people
Hmm.
because I guess there's a lot more than meets the eye. It's not just, oh, I gamble and I got to stop, otherwise I'm going to go broke and I'm going to affect other people. This is very in depth. It seems to be, as it should be. Is that how
Hmm.
you see it? Is that was the working factor behind it?
Absolutely. My CEO, Frankie Graham, started this charity 10 years ago when we really didn't have anything in this country to actually keep people safe from gambling harms. And he started it up with, literally 5 people in a small fund, to try and bring awareness and safety to people who were vulnerable to the gambling industry. And 10 years on, we are all over the UK. We work within the NGSN, which is the National Gambling Support Network, which is about 10 or 11 charities that all work all over the UK together, referring into each other to help people deal with their gambling issues. And then we are now, as I say, just starting to move out into the US, into Massachusetts, with some work that we're doing. Um, so he has, from a small acorn, he has grown a big tree. But unfortunately, that tree is needed because there are so many people now currently. We've just been through a bit of financial crisis in this country again.
Yeah.
People don't have money, and when they don't have money, and you go onto one of our high streets, you will find every third or fourth shop will be a betting shop,
Wow.
because areas where the most poverty is where they know they can bring in the vulnerable to use money they don't have to try and make more money because they're so desperate.
It seems like
And
they're
this is
towing the
where,
line too, like that they're towing the line so quick that it's not illegal,
no,
but just
no,
enough where we can prey on
yeah.
your uh whatever
It's the
vulnerabilities,
vulnerable
I guess.
people,
Yeah.
people who have not got the money and are in a bad situation or are chasing their bets, that are
Right.
vulnerable. And there, as I say, there are probably, if you look worldwide, there are millions of people every year that do gamble safely and responsibly with money that they can afford. That is not a concern, you know, that is not a concern to us at all. It's the people that can't, and they need that support and help, that the industry isn't currently giving them, or the regulations aren't strong enough that these people are being looked after.
Right. So I have, yeah, and I see I went right to the your Twitter page or I guess whatever we're calling it this month, Twitter, X, whatever it is. So I'm going to follow on there, and then we go back to it because like people to see your. Let's see that. There we go. So let's show that. There you are. So,
And that's our Bet No More Twitter page.
right. So that are once again that are listening, we run that on there too. So that's the main page there for Bet No More UK, and so they're on there. So they can follow you as well. It says follow Julie on Twitter or X at JTROSHUPA. Because and now this one is at the tagline, or I should say the handle is Bet No More at Bet No More, and it looks like there's a lot of have some links which you can see that the right there the website and everything is linked. Let's see what happened. Yep, and it brings you right to the actual web page that we were just on. So and you're on that. You're on.
Yeah, I've shared stuff that I've done within the charity is on that, but that is the full charity's work. And it will show everything we do, all of our promotions, all of our, everything is on there. So that's quite a extensive social media page for us.
And do different people operate it? Because everybody has their own specific or own individual Twitter page, and then you have the business or you have the organization one too. So it's all of them
that's
plus
the charity page. I have my
right.
own. Yeah, I have my own private one that I do talk about, obviously, gambling harms and awareness on it. But I tried to think that, looking at social media back probably during the COVID lockdowns, it seemed to get rather negative and people weren't posting happy thoughts. They weren't posting positivity. And I thought, why not make a change to that? So my Twitter page is all about positivity. It's all about trying to find the best things out of the worst situations. And yes, we all have bad days. Yes, we all feel like we don't want to get out of bed and we don't want to carry on that day. But why do we let it beat us? Why do we? Let's get up. Let's find what we can, count our blessings for that day and make it the best we can. And life is not perfect. It never has been, never will be. Mine far from perfect. But what I do try to do, and I do this, every day, is try and make the best out of my day that I can, and know that I'm still here and I'm still relevant, and my children love me and my parents are still with me, and they're the kind of blessings that I look at now.
For those that are
from
here.
everything we've been through,
And it affects an entire family. It's not just that person. And we'll get into that in a second because I believe that my audience would like to know. I mean, now that we know who you are, we know scratching the surface on who Julie Martin is, obviously. So there's obviously you're like an onion, like me. There's a lot of layers to you, and that's okay because it's not always what you immediately see or immediately hear, and it can be very disingenuous when you're online, whether it's Twitter or anything else. Where like, is that real? Is that not real? Is that AI? Is that you got to deal with that crap now too. But that's why it's so important that you're on camera to make sure that everybody understands that it's valid, that you are really who you say you are, and there you are. They know who I am because I'm a loudmouth, but they need to know who you are. And I'd like to get into that right now if you would indulge us.
Absolutely.
Okay, so speaking of kind of where we were the other, I guess it was last week or prior to that, you were married and you have children.
Yes.
And let's delve into that a little bit. So here you are, you're in London, you're married for how long were you married for? Quite a while, right?
I was married for 22 years in total.
22.
And then I knew my husband 3 years prior to that. So we had a 25-year relationship, which was pretty much half of my life.
Did you ever gamble or was it just your husband?
No, never gambled in my life. I grew up with a family who may have bought the odd lottery ticket or bet on the Grand National, which is like a really famous once a year horse race here, which is kind of traditional, that you all pick a horse and put 50 pence on, but that's literally once a year. So I didn't really understand the concept of gambling or what it was, or how much it could take over your life. So it was brand new to me.
Okay. So that wasn't really your thing, but you met your husband 3 years prior to getting married, so 25 years
Married, yeah,
total. Okay.
yeah,
And he already was a gambler, or is that something
yes.
that he already was when
No,
you met him? All right. So it wasn't a
he was
secret.
already a gambler, but not that I knew of, or not that I recognized, because it wasn't something that I understood or looked for. And obviously he hid from me anyway. You know, it wasn't something that he was going to admit, I suppose, immediately, because I was quite a level-headed person, always worked for my money, never got into debt. You know, I'd have fun. I'm not a boring person, but I wasn't a risk taker.
Hmm.
Just wanted a good life, worked hard for my money, pay my bills, enjoy life when I could.
What did you do, Julie? What was
So
your line of work? What did you do?
when I met my husband, I worked in the hospitality trade, and then I went into education, and I worked with autistic children for 10 years. And then from that, my whole life took a spiral of having to work 70 or 80 hours a week, doing 4
Ooh,
different jobs in all different kinds of
70 to
not
80
great.
hours a week. Did you even have a chance to go to
Yeah.
the bathroom? My God, that's
Not
great.
very much.
Hospitality. I'd be like, who needs that much hospitality? Have a cigarette break. Do something. My God.
I was in the charity sector at that time. I was
Yeah.
doing 12-hour shifts at a dementia care home. And I was also
Oh, I'm
doing some
sorry. Hold on.
private care work
I'm
and
sorry.
cleaning.
Just to interject, what is, because
Don't
I
worry.
think that's different from what is that the same thing as like a hospice nurse would go to someone's house, or somebody like a visiting angel? Is that the same
No,
kind of thing? It is
well,
not.
we have care homes here that people live in permanently. So I worked in
Oh,
a care
okay.
home during the COVID lockdown, because I had to find a job, and it was one of the only jobs that was still available at the time.
Right. To go to them.
So I was
You had
doing
to go to
12-hour
them.
shifts,
Yeah.
and spend 12-hour shifts in a care home looking after elderly people with dementia,
Okay.
who sadly were dying from COVID, without their families. So that was quite a traumatic time in
Yeah.
my life, because
Here too. The same kind of thing going
we
on
had to,
here.
yeah, spend time holding their hands and being with them as they passed away, because they didn't have anyone else with them.
Mm.
But again, the only reason I was doing that job is because at that point my husband was at his height of his gambling issues and wasn't working because of COVID. So I had to make a decision to bring some money in and make some money for myself to keep things as afloat as I could. So I opened my own bank account, went out, found this job, and started working the 12-hour shifts. As well as doing those, I was working part-time in the gambling support industry sector, and also had a couple of jobs doing private care for people in their homes, or cleaning for people in their homes, literally just to try and make as much money as I could, because no one else was bringing any money into the house. But there were thousands and thousands of pounds going out of it every day.
And I think we know on what. Okay, so and now if you're talking COVID time, that's 2020, which, believe it or not, has been 4 years. I can't believe it. It feels like it was 20 years ago, and then at the other aspect, it feels like it was 6 months ago. So you're the only one working at the time. This is fast forwarding. So let's
If I
back
go
up.
back, probably, yeah, if I go backwards, it'll probably explain it better. So,
That's what I was just about to say. So what I wanted to do was let's halt there and rewind a little bit, because we jumped right to that. It's basically you get married. There's gambling
and
going on.
had a good 11 years. You know, my daughter was born in 2000. My son was born in 2004.
Okay.
We had a number of good years. There were things that happened that I couldn't explain at the time. There were moods and attitudes from my husband over those periods of time that I couldn't explain. But it wasn't until my daughter was 11 and my son was 7 that it all came out, and things kind of tumbled into such a mess that he had to admit that he'd got himself in so much trouble with his gambling that he couldn't physically hide it anymore. I found some letters, and they were credit card bills. So at the time, it was still legal to gamble on credit cards. You can't do that here anymore.
No.
But back then you could.
Yeah, for us
So
it was
he had run
different.
up.
I think it was like we were able to online, I believe it was, and you could enter your credit card number. And this is we're talking like I'm guessing the late 90s or into the 2000s, kind of like what parallel to what you were just saying. And at some point there was some kind of law that happened here in the
Yeah,
United States, like you would have to do it in Costa Rica or something like that, that you couldn't get paid through the US.
yeah.
And then it killed it because people were getting crushed. Now that's changed, obviously, but we're talking 20 plus years. So if you said 2004, so you're talking exactly 20 years ago. So you're finding credit
Yeah.
card bills and you can't make heads or tails of it. Is that what's going on, Julie? Or
No, there were 5 credit card bills in about 2010 that were all maxed out to around between 60 and 70,000 pounds that had all been spent on online gambling.
pounds? Tell my audience pounds. How much? What would 70 pounds be here? That would be a very small person. 70 pounds. No, I'm kidding. What? Not that you have to convert it for. So I'm guessing that is that in the
I don't
thousands.
even know the rate of exchange at the moment, but
Well, it's enough to get your attention, I guess. So
yeah.
all right, good enough. We'll do a conversion
So
later.
we're looking at £70,000 worth of credit card debt.
Ugh.
And then things started, we had to have a conversation. I had to confront him about those. He was very, it's none of your business. I earn the money in this house. I'll deal with it. But excuse me, it is my business because we're in a lot of debt. But his attitude was very much that he had it under control. It was not something for me to concern myself with or worry about. But I was worried and I was very concerned because it turns out, as well as those credit cards, he had taken a couple of loans out in my name that I didn't know he had done. He'd taken loans out himself.
We're talking about big amounts. When you say loans, are we talking about like lots
we're
and lots of
talking,
money?
£5,000, £10,000, £15,000 worth of loans on top of these 5 credit cards, as well as money that he owed people personally. So we were in a lot of trouble, and in that much trouble that he was in a spiral that 99% of his wages were going on gambling. I didn't earn a fabulous wage, and I was barely covering bills, barely covering mortgages and bills. I wasn't even touching the credit cards, weren't getting paid, the loans weren't getting paid. I'm just talking about the day-to-day stuff. And it got so bad at that time that at some points I didn't even have money to buy my children's food. And I literally mean nothing.
How is he okay with that, if you don't mind me asking? I mean, obviously that's really,
How was he okay with that? One of my major memories at that time was when the children were born. In the years that they were born, I saved a coin. We have got, like you've got cents, 5 cents, 10 cents. I saved all of the coins that we had as our tender for the year they were born. So I had about 7 coins for my daughter being born in 2000 and 7 coins for my son being born in 2004. And they were in a box with their keepsake stuff from when they were born. It came to, if I said to you, it came to an amount of $10 at the time. Yeah. He took that money from that box to buy a packet of cigarettes. That's how he felt about our situation.
So your kids aren't eating, you're not working, and he's dipping into like emergency rainy day fund, I guess is what we call it here, to buy a pack of smokes.
Well, it's not. It was just coins that I'd saved because they were the year of my kid's birth that I just wanted to keep forever for them. And it came to about $10 in total. And he took that money because he wanted cigarettes and we had no money.
Well, and so
And
he
that's how we
working?
felt about the
I guess that
situation.
does answer it. I
Yeah,
wasn't the answer I
he was working
expected.
at the time. He was working, but he was self-employed. He'd taken out business loans to buy things that he hadn't bought and he'd gambled with. So we were in a lot of trouble from a lot of different
What
areas,
year? What
and
year are we
I
talking
didn't tell
about?
a soul. It's about 2011 to 12,
Okay, so we're
probably
yeah.
between 2009, 2012, when it all came out and really
So
got
this has been
awful.
going on for years and years. That's what you're saying,
Yeah,
and it just
yeah,
his demeanor
yeah.
changed, his attitude changed. There's
Oh,
loans out in
attitude
your
changed.
there's loans out in
Absolutely
your
every. I
name.
didn't know who he was. Didn't know who he was. He was a very protective, very, old school, what we'd call an old school man's man. Good dad, good husband.
Yeah.
And overnight he changed into somebody I didn't recognize. I didn't know who he was. He didn't care about the situation we were in. I didn't tell anyone. I was so ashamed of the whole situation. I didn't want people to know because I didn't want people to think badly of him. I still loved this man with all of my heart, no matter that he'd broken us and crushed me and everything that had happened. I loved him
He's the
and
father of
I
your
didn't want
children.
people.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, my husband, the man I met to marry and spend the rest of my life with. And I didn't want him to be seen as a bad person by everyone else because nobody else knew. Because outside our front door, everyone thought everything was rosy. Because every
right.
time he walked out and met everybody, he was the good, lovely, kind person, the happy, generous, he stayed the same. And
What
I
could
had to
possibly
lie.
be wrong in that house? Everybody's happy and healthy, and there's children, and the wife is
Absolutely,
smiling, and they must be
and
okay.
we weren't.
And that
We
was only
weren't.
on
We
the
were
surface.
dying on the inside. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, along with that came now I believe his mental health illness, and because he did become slowly he was always during this time quite controlling, and he spent a lot of time abusing me verbally and sort of mentally, but slowly he became quite physical with his abuse as well. um,
This was
and
not
this
in
led
front of
to
your
us.
kids, though, right?
It
This
was,
was
unfortunately, they weren't hidden from it.
they were what? Night? They
And
were teenagers at the time. I'm guessing
no,
then.
no, they were still like kind of 12 and
Oh,
12 and
like
8, so they
preteen.
were still
Okay.
quite young.
Not that that's okay.
And
I'm just trying to get the numbers in my head
yeah,
because I'm
no, no,
trying to
no, it's
wrap
fine.
my head around this actually. So, but please
it
go on.
it got to a point that one night that my daughter was quite scared because of everything that was going on, that she was sleeping with me, and he come and he dragged me out of bed because he wanted my bank card because his bank card wouldn't work anymore, and he was quite abusive to me, and she ran out the house to a neighbor, and the neighbor called the police, and this was the first time that he was arrested for harassment and threats to kill,
To kill
which
you.
meant,
He was threatening you
yeah,
with harm.
yeah,
And your kids
because
too, or just you?
no, no, just me. I was
Okay.
told that if I dared left that house or took the kids away from him, he would he would chop me up in little bits and nobody would ever find me,
You're like a prisoner in your
So
own home. I
yeah,
mean,
but
geez.
we ended up separating for 6 months during that period, and I had to tell people, I had to tell my family.
Yeah.
Everybody found out about everything. It was so traumatically embarrassing, and I just felt broken, and my mental health suffered dramatically because of the stress, financial stress, emotional stress, just trying to want to protect the children, not knowing what to do, not knowing where to go for help. Um, it was a really, really lonely time. Um,
Yeah,
but
I can only imagine. I that's
yeah,
well. Let me ask you this, Julie, to give you a second of levity because that's a lot right there. I mean, and I'm just hearing it, imagining having to go through it. I can't even imagine. My heart goes out to you. This is heart wrenching because even at that, which speaks volumes about who you are, Julie, because even at his lowest point, your family's kind of up in the air, like not knowing what's going on, and you didn't see the earmarks of it, but then you did. It became more and more prevalent as we go forward. You still, like, stand by your man type of thing.
Mm,
I
mm,
want to do that for my family's sake, for my husband. I still love him.
mm.
This is my family and everything. Now, I'm not making light of it, but did it last as long as it did? Because everybody eventually runs out of money if you're losing in handfuls like that. I'm guessing that a lot of gamblers, from what I heard, they do win. And it's
Oh yeah.
that mentality. It's not like I want to do it again because I lost. That's called chasing it. And I understand what that is. And a lot of people do as well. I'm talking about when you win, it's like, you know what? You can't stop. And I know I've never had it on that level before, but I've had it where
Mm,
I'm up like $9,800, and I'm like, "There's no way you're leaving. You want to hit that 10 grand?" And you know what? I didn't even have enough money for cab fare by the time we're done. The house always wins. Nobody knows that better than you.
mm.
But was he doing online? Because I know that was the advent in the 2000s of all the. Was it that, or was he going to like the track, like
No,
you
no.
do here?
Right
Or
at the beginning, right at the beginning, when I didn't know things were going on, he was using casinos in London.
like going to them
But
physically? You mean going to it? Okay.
yeah, but that was like prior to sort of 2000, 2003.
Yeah.
After that, when it became quite prevalent online, he started to use online gambling sites all the time.
Mm.
Didn't need to go anywhere, could sit in his own home quite happily and
Right.
gamble for as many hours as he wanted to.
Yeah, you don't have to leave the house to go
I
broke. Right. Yeah.
No, no. I mean, I know for a fact some of our biggest arguments over the years were that he'd actually show me his laptop and say, "Look, I'm £60,000 up today. £60,000 up. Now I've got no money to buy food. So I'm begging him, can you not take £50,000 of that out, pay some of our debts off? And, just no, he never took a penny out of those accounts to make things better. He just chased and chased. And the more he chased, the more he lost,
Right.
the more he borrowed. Then he couldn't borrow anymore. But the industry then gave him money and said, look, don't stop now. We'll give you £5,000. We'll
Unbelievable.
give you £10,000. You stay. You gamble this money. You have
Of
fun with
course.
us.
They're
We'll look
preying
after
on him. They
you.
know he's vulnerable, that he's losing. Of course, they do the numbers and the metrics on that kind of stuff. And this is not like you're not even asking, hey, can you take the money? You want to buy food. This isn't like, forget about your debts for a second. How about can my children and I eat? Your wife, your kids. I mean, he must be so, or at the time was so beyond, like, you're not thinking clearly and drawn in. I've gambled. I have lost a lot. Nothing like what you're talking about. And you must feel felt helpless. Like, what
I
do I do? I
did.
can't leave. I can't do this. I got my
I couldn't.
children
I had no
involved.
money. I had nowhere to go. I
Right.
didn't want to tell people. I
And no
didn't want to
credit.
confess to
He
you.
ran out stuff on
Nothing.
loans and everything. So
Nothing.
your name was shot now
You
too,
know?
right?
And the thing is, I mean, in this country, they do have, so I won't name industries, but and if he's gambling on one site for 4 hours continuously, that site will say to him, right, it's time you had a break now, and we're going to cut you off for 4 hours, 6 hours,
Yeah,
whatever.
they do that. You put those parameters in, which is
But
a good idea, actually. But
yeah,
uh,
that's a great idea. But all he does is move on to the next site and does another 6 hours, then gets cut
uh,
off, and then moves on to the next site and does another 6 hours and gets cut
Jesus.
off. So he can gamble 24/7. So
And he
these
was.
these
Hmm.
these timeouts are not any use to the vulnerable unless the industry talks to each other
Right.
and make sure that John Bloggs, who is not my husband's name, does not move from this site to this site to this site to this site on the timeouts.
Okay,
But
right. In other words, we do that here, by the way, or they have in the past, like in Vegas or Atlantic City, with the physical part. They do share information for people that are cheating, for people that are counting cards, for all this kind of stuff. Not to rub it. I'm just saying, and they'll be like, "Well, this person got kicked out of the Stardust, let's say, or whatever it is." They're not going to let him into Bally's or something like that. Like they share that kind of, it's like a network, like you just said. I don't know
Yep.
about how it works in the UK. They do that here for good, for better, for worse. That also works on the other end where you keep comping everything. Oh, we're going to
Mm,
give you a free this and a free that. Yeah. Meanwhile, your roast beef sandwich cost you about 50 grand. So it's
mm,
all optics on there. But
mm.
I understand. Now I have the conversion up. If I did this correctly, you can't see it. So I put in, you're still on the British pound sterling, correct?
Yep.
All right. So you're not euro. And so I put in US dollar and then I put 70 and then 70,000 pounds. Right? Is that correct? Is that accurate?
Yes. Yeah. That was
That,
on the credit cards. That was
okay.
just the credit cards.
So that's a little over $87,000. Does that
Mm.
sound about right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Because, like I
That
said,
was.
I'm not sure if I did the conversion right. Our dollar isn't worth crap right now, but still, yeah. If you put that in, that's the conversion. If I did that correctly, I'm sure I might or might not have done it, but I'm sure that
And
that's giving people an
to be
idea.
fair, and none of our countries are doing really well at the minute. Back then, we were probably getting $2 to the pound here.
Mm,
So back when I'm talking about, you could have doubled it in dollars,
$2 a pound.
and it was ridiculous. But
It sounds like. And the only thing that's $2 a pound around here is potato salad. But I don't know, and I want to see. There's the see. I'm a master at that. I'll get you to laugh because it looked like it was going to go sideways any second, Julie. That one's on me. Like I said, you're very courageous. So going back, fast forwarding, you're married, everything's okay. There's maybe a couple of things here, and that's just the gambling part. I mean, people have like everyday trials and tribulations, just marriage
yeah,
alone. Forget about the
yeah,
gambling part. People that
mm,
don't even touch gambling, but you kept it together. You're working a lot of hours.
mm,
Your husband's working. He's dabbling in this, telling you, hey, Julie, don't worry about it. I'm the man in the house. I bring in the money and everything. I put
mm,
food on the table, which means that you're not allowed to ask me questions. Okay. And the
mm,
kids are okay at the time, and they're younger, they're preteen and going in. So I have all that correct at this point. Now
mm,
we're going forward. Now we're up to where things are progressively, they're scaling upwards in a bad way. You're at
mm,
about 2007, 2008, which was a bad year here in the
mm.
States with the housing market crash at the end of '08. I believe it was September. This is before COVID now. We're talking at
Yeah.
least 10
Well,
years
I mean,
before COVID.
even if you went up to 212,
Yeah.
when we separated,
That's when it was. Okay. No.
it was a mess. It was a complete mess.
Not just
His mental
financially,
health was a
just
mess.
everything.
My mental health was a
Yeah.
mess. Everything was a
Yeah.
mess. Financially, everything was a mess. I had to confess everything to my dear parents who have always brought me up well. They've always worked hard. They've always tried. I learned to respect money. Some years we had it, some years we didn't growing up. So I knew what it was like to respect money, would
Right.
never waste it, never, and I had to tell them that their son-in-law, who they loved and had good times with, had ruined everything and left their daughter and their grandchildren penniless. And it was a very hard time because I didn't want to fall out with them, but I didn't want them to hate him.
Once again, you're thinking of him ahead of yourself, right?
Because I loved, like I said, I'm not going to, I loved
Right.
him. And I spoke to the police over here. I spoke to the authorities. I spoke to the probation people and tried to get him help for his gambling problems.
He
I told
wasn't.
them
He
he had
wasn't listening,
gambling
right?
issues.
Yeah.
He wouldn't get help himself. So I asked all the authorities, please, everything has happened because he has gambling issues, problems, addictions. All they did was put him on an anger management course. They completely ignored the real reasons this man was falling apart, and they put him on an anger management course.
Anger
So we
management
were
course.
separated for 6 months. He learned how to kind of be nice
Well, that's nice.
through this course he
I'm
went on.
glad that's a start. You have to be told to
But
be nice to your family.
yeah,
Yeah.
nobody addressed his gambling issues, although they were flagged up by me on many an occasion. And 6, 7 months later, we ended up getting back together, genuinely for the reason that I said. I was married. I valued my wedding vows. I valued my family. I valued my children and my husband, and I wanted to put it back together, and I wanted to make it work. Now, this put a massive rift between myself and my own family, because they then were like, why would you take this man back? Why?
Well,
Because I believed at the time, genuinely believed, that we could start again and we could make a difference and things would be okay. And to be fair, for 3 or 4 years they were. And I worked exceptionally hard to the detriment of my mental health again, getting my family back together, getting my parents and him back together, just making everything right. Making it the way I dreamt it should be and always wanted it to be.
like when you first got married,
And
like that,
things
thinking
did.
about it like that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
like why you marry, why you have children, why you
Right.
make a family.
The initial,
And and
he's a
things,
good man, you're a good woman, and this is prior to children.
yeah,
Yes, I want to
yeah,
spend my
yeah,
life with you and have
absolutely.
children. You wanted to get back to
Yeah.
that. Understandable. It was.
And it was for a number of years. I mean, we had to work really hard. We had what were called CCJs. They weren't in my name, they were his, but all this credit card debt, you have like a court thing come up against you, and you have a period of time to pay off these CCJs that you can afford, but they mean that you can't get any credit for like 5 years. And so they had issues on us, but we worked really hard. I worked, he worked, and we paid quite a lot of the debt off. We did have to remortgage our house.
Mm.
So at a point where we thought we were getting nearer to owning our own property, we had to put a significant amount of money back on loan on top of the property and increase
Oh,
the
like a
the
home equity
mortgage.
loan, like that kind of thing?
Yeah, well, it was just like remortgaging the house, but adding 10 years to the
Oh, to
time
the back
frame so that
end.
we could afford to
Right.
pay it
So a
back.
30-year
So we were
mortgage went to a
supposed to be,
50-year mortgage, you know.
well,
I'm sorry about
25-year
talking at
mortgage
the
to a
same time. It's
35-year
because we're on a
mortgage.
delay.
No, don't worry.
Yeah, because I didn't hear what you
Yeah,
said.
it's a
Please repeat it.
25.
You know.
It was a 25-year mortgage that we were supposed to finish
Okay.
paying when we were 52, 53, that went to a 35-year mortgage,
Oh boy.
because we had to add so much money to it. But we got through it. We paid it all off. He worked hard for a couple of years. We lived what I would consider to be a normal, happy family life. We had a few holidays. We had a nice time. The children were happy. Things were good. And then in about 2018, he convinced me to stop work completely. He said, you're coming up to 50 and you've worked really hard for me and you've helped me get through all of this. And our daughter was about to go away to university. And he said, it'd be really great if you stop work so that you can be there purely for her going to uni and any help she needs. And our son was going to go through his first round of senior school exams. And I thought, you know what? I have worked hard and I have always worked and I should have some time now. So I did. I stopped work. I finished a 10-year job at a school that I'd worked with autistic children and children with ADHD and things like that. And I thought things were going well. I really felt this is a positive move and everything's good. But very quickly after that, within 6 months, maybe a year, I started to see traits in him that I recognized from before. But I was petrified. I wouldn't ask him or I wouldn't question him, because I thought if I question him and I'm wrong, God knows what I'm triggering. God knows what I'm starting. So I tried to ignore them, tried to not get involved with them. There were various money issues going on, and I was really trying not to discuss them or talk about them or bring them up, because when I did, I just got anger. He just came at me with, how can you not trust me? How can you not believe me? And he was working on me. He was working on my brain. He was coercively controlling me. He was telling me that everything I saw was because I was a bad mother. I was a bad wife. I was in the wrong. I made him do what he's doing
You
because
made
I'm
him
such a bad
gamble.
person.
You made him sit there and gamble. You, the person that's out working
Made
and
him a
trying to,
bad person
unbelievable. And you're
because I was such a bad wife, bad mother, bad person, bad everything. You know, I won't use the words that he used. I won't tell you the things that he called me. I was faithful to that man for 25 years, you know, and
I think get
I
the
was
idea.
called many, many things, you know, and it hurt, it broke me, it hurt me, and it made me believe eventually. And I know people will say, I can't understand how you're a good person, you sound so strong. But when somebody you love and someone you want to be okay tells you day in, day out, what a bad person you are, what a horrible, nasty, rotten person you are, you believe it. You begin to believe it. So my whole self-esteem, everything crumbled. I was I wasn't the same person.
Well,
I
you're going through mental
genuinely,
trauma at this point.
oh, absolutely, absolutely. And again, you know, like I said, there were financial things going on, lies, loans, this, that, and the other, all over again, arguments, problems. My daughter was away through some of this because she was at uni, but then if we jumped to lockdown, my daughter had to come home from uni, my son wasn't at school, I wasn't working at that time, and my husband couldn't work because of lockdown, that we were trapped in this house, and it's a 3-bedroom, 2-story house with a garden. And he
The
sat for
garden.
12 hours a day
Yeah.
with a garden. Well, no, this garden probably saved a lot
No,
of
I
our
just the way that
sanity
you are.
because,
That's you right there, Julie. You'll be like, and it's this and this and this, and it's
yeah,
very ominous, and then plus a little garden. See, this is
a garden.
your hope. This is your hope because your altruistic
Yeah,
ways. You know, like I
it
have a
was
little
my
garden.
family home.
Mental. You
Mm.
know, ambiguity here is just like the part where I like that. I pick up on that kind of stuff because you're trying. You still have that little essence. You know, there's a hope. There's hope. That's what I hear in your voice, anyway.
There was there was always always hope. I never gave up on hope. Um, because what else do you have? If you don't hope, you have nothing. Um, and during lockdown, when both the kids were here, and now we're talking that they're 16 and 20, he gambled 12 hours a day on his laptop. He used to carry his laptop from the lounge or sitting room or from the sofa by the television through to the bathroom to go to the toilet because he wouldn't put it down
Hmm.
long enough to go to the toilet and
Uh,
then carry it back through. He wouldn't eat meals with us. He wouldn't talk to us. We couldn't talk to him. We spent time in the garden. Thankfully, we had good weather then, or we lived upstairs. So the three of us lived in our own, like in our bedrooms, while he had downstairs because we couldn't. We were walking on eggshells. I don't know if you know that term, but
of course I
it
do.
was so fragile. Everything was fragile here. And yes, there were arguments, and yes, he became even more physically violent during this time. My daughter did go back to university eventually, leaving me and my son here, who was 16. And eventually, the gambling took over his mental health again, and I was physically abused at 4 a.m. in the morning, where he wrecked the bedroom, and my son got up and saved me because he had me round the throat up against a wall. And if it wasn't for him, I don't know where I'd be. So, not good for a 16-year-old boy to be witnessing his parents in that kind of situation.
So
But
he's.
it
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I
no,
At this
no,
point you're talking after COVID, right? So this is like 2020.
during COVID. This is still during COVID, so it's
So
during the
2020.
lockdown
Okay.
period. Yeah.
So the fact that he's being abused, I mean, I don't know if he's cognizant of it. And yes, I understand you're walking with eggshells. Anything might set this man. I mean, he's taking the laptop
Mm,
with him to the bathroom and stuff like that. I
mm.
mean, for your children, did they come to you because they couldn't talk to their father and say, "Hey, mom, why is dad doing this? Why I mean, were they afraid, or were they just afraid for you? Can you even answer that question? Because it's
I think there was a mixture of everything. Right from the beginning, right back from, 2011, 2010,
right.
I talked to them age appropriately about their dad. And I promise I never once said a bad word against him.
I
Not
believe you.
one bad word against him. But I talked age appropriately to them over a number of years to try and explain, to try and help them, support them, hide things from them. I didn't do it brilliantly. I made mistakes. There were things I probably could have done better, but I was on the brink of a nervous breakdown, and I was just trying to keep things afloat, just keep things alive, keep them safe, keep me safe. And all at the same time, and I know that people will think I'm ridiculous, I still loved this man because I knew it wasn't him. I knew this person that was threatening my life, hurting me, taking away my self-esteem, ruining his relationship with his children. I knew that wasn't my husband. I knew that was the addiction, and the addiction bringing on the mental health issues that made him the way he was. And I tried so hard to get him help, or to get him to accept help. But he didn't have any problems. He didn't have a gambling addiction. He didn't have any mental health issues. He didn't believe in them. And
Did he ever go, Julie? Like
and
eventually, you're talking about from 2011 all the way as we're going towards. So now you're talking about 10 years where you had to speak to your children age appropriately, like you said. And I
yep,
understand
yep,
what that means. That
yep,
different way for one age and different way for another age. I get that.
yep,
And then
yep.
now you're talking about a decade has passed. Did this man, your husband, did he ever actually at any point get help? At any point, like I'm talking about, like one day walk in and then to the hell with it, I and left. Did he even once in this 20+ year circus, I should say? No, nothing, not once. So he didn't
He
believe in
didn't
getting help.
believe he
He
had a
believed in
problem.
losing a ton of money. He believed in that.
He believed he was in control. He believed he had it all down. He had it all sorted. He had it. I was wrong. He was right.
Are you angry? Are you bitter? Has it been a roll? Obviously,
I
that goes without
was.
saying.
I was. Back. Back I was. Now, and obviously once I finish this story, you'll understand why I'm not bitter. But now I understand what addiction is. I've learned, read, studied,
Mhm.
taken tests, exams, whatever you like. And I understand what addiction does to someone's brain. I understand what a coercively controlling industry gambling is. I understand that it's great for the people that can manage it properly, but it's not regulated enough for those who can't.
Yeah, it's always accessible to whatever.
We
With money is buys a lot of different, a lot of avenues. There's always a
When
way
he had
around it.
money,
Yeah.
yeah, when he had money, he was the life and soul of the party. He'd pay for everybody's bills. He'd pay for everyone's meals. He'd pay for everyone's drinks. Wouldn't pay off our debts, And once
Um,
all this happened, I lost so many friends, so many people I thought were my friends,
so
but they
he's
were
not bringing
obviously
just
only my
him
friend.
down. Yeah, I mean, you're going to be embarrassed. You got to tell your parents what's going on. You didn't want to, but you felt the need that you had to, and I agree. And your children have a front row seat to their father deteriorating, your family
Mm-hmm.
deteriorating right in front of their eyes, where mom is trying to hold everything together, and you're a human being too. I mean, I don't know if he was drinking, which would exacerbate it,
During
obviously.
COVID, yeah, during COVID, he was smoking 60 cigarettes in 24 hours. He was
Holy,
drinking and he was gambling. I don't know where this money was coming from because I was working in a dementia care home at this time, doing 12-hour shifts, as well as everything else I was doing just to try and keep this house. Um,
and this didn't seem
I
like it
I
mattered to
got
him at
beaten
all.
up.
Oh, wow.
No, I got beaten up in the dementia care home. I had my ribs broken in the dementia care home.
What?
I came
Why? By
home with
who?
scratches by the patients, by the people, the poor people with dementia who didn't know what they were doing, and never once did he ever question my injuries. Did he question? Because I
No
was
concern at all. Okay.
no, nothing. He'd
And
gone. I'd lost him by then. I'd lost him. He wasn't the same person anymore. You know, my daughter went back to uni. He got worse. He attacked me that morning. My son intervened, and I had to call the police. I had to. You know,
you
when
feared for your
it's
life. You
either
had to. Yeah.
well, you're going to kill me, or I'm going to potentially kill myself because I can't do this. I can't be this anymore. And I was not going to give up on my kids. I was not going to. I knew I was opening up a whole other heap of pain, but I had to make that decision. I had to. And he was arrested, and he was actually put in jail on remand.
Okay. Did
And
he have to
then
do
there were
time
restraining
or
orders.
no? Oh, okay.
Yeah, well, yeah, he was in jail for about 3 months.
This is
But
for
because
what?
of
Domestic.
COVID, there were no court cases.
Right.
Yeah,
Everything
it
was
was
backed up. So what was it? A battery?
well, it
Is
was
it
threats to kill again. Yeah,
okay. So
threats to
menacing and
kill.
okay.
You know, and
You.
that
Yeah.
kind of thing. And there were no court cases going on because of COVID, or only the really serious ones, you know,
Yeah,
like
same
murder
here.
cases. And
Mhm.
so he came out, and there were restraining orders to stop him coming near the family
When
home and myself
he
and my
got out.
son. But because my daughter was away at uni, he could still contact her. So he was literally ringing her 3 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, driving her insane trying to get to me. 1 minute he'd be saying, "Tell mum I love her. Tell mum that I need to get back with her. Please just tell mum, let me back in the house, and I promise it'll all be okay." And then the next day it'll be, "If your mum doesn't let me back in the house, I'm going to burn the house down, and I'm going to kill her." And you know,
He's
she
telling
went
your
through at
daughter
21
this.
years old.
He's telling your daughter
Yeah.
this, who is already distraught what's going on. She's at college, at university, and he started out very eloquently, and then, hey, by the way, I'm gonna that's
And she was our firstborn
put you in
child.
the
She was her dad's girl. She adored him. I don't know if you know of, oh, I'm sure you do, you know, Beauty and the Beast, the film.
Of course, yes.
I could never watch the Disney's Beauty and the Beast again because my daughter grew up, and that was her favorite film, and she was always Belle, and her dad was the Beast, and she absolutely adored him,
that Maddie's little girl,
loved him
and
so much.
so that had to. I wouldn't say. I don't want to say it out like, but that could scar someone for life. Just the mental. I mean, you can't see it with your eyes, but it's
She
there.
had a mental breakdown. She lost her very first job out of university, and because she had a mental breakdown, and although the very first week of this job that she had, her father came to our home, which he wasn't allowed to, tried to bang the door down. My son called me because I wasn't here. I was coming home from another 12-hour shift at another dementia care home, saying, "Dad's at the door, he's banging it down, he's going crazy." I said, "Get away from the door, don't go near the window, I'll call the police." I called the police. I said to my son, "Please don't go on the phone. If you go on the phone, I can't get hold of you, I will panic. I'm nearly home." I called the police. I knew they were coming straight away because my house was flagged.
I'm sorry. What
I
was that?
tried
House
to
was
ring my
flagged.
son.
What does that mean?
Yeah, flagged, it means that the police know that this is a domestic abuse house. So if a
Okay.
phone call comes from it, they respond quicker.
Understood.
And I tried to ring my son back to tell him that the police were coming, and I was like 2 minutes away, and I couldn't get through because it was engaged. And I live in a dead end road, a cul-de-sac. I don't know, you know, it's just
I know. Yeah.
doesn't go any further from
Yeah.
where a few houses are. And
It's a glorified dead end. Yeah,
as I
I know what it
drove
is.
round, yeah. And you know, I'm afraid this is going to be quite triggering, so I just want people to know that this is not a good ending. and I'm sorry if it upsets anyone, but
Say what you
I
have to
drove
say,
round
Julie.
the
Say it.
corner, and his car that he hadn't paid for, £50,000 car that he was in debt to, was just out the front of our house with the doors open, and he was stood there, and he poured a canister of petrol over his head, and in front of myself and our son in the house, set himself on fire and took his own life in front of us both. Police, the ambulance, the helicopters, the fire service, and most of the town people that we lived with turned up. And it was it was a day that will never ever leave me, my son, or my daughter. And he came equipped with items that, it turns out in the inquest, that he planned to take me with him, because he did say I'd never get the house and I'd never be happy and I'd never have the children. And if I'm honest, he was right, because leaving that legacy behind, leaving that vision, my last vision of what happened, that's never going to leave me. That's
This
never going to
happened.
not be part of me.
Oh,
And this
well,
happened on the 11th of November, 2021.
so this has not even been 3 years. This is as fresh a wound as anything
No.
else that you've had to endure, and this is in front of you
Mm.
and your daughter. You're saying the one that was at college, her,
No, daughter was at college, but my 16-year-old son.
you and your son, and this is on a main street. This is
Well, people, you know what it's like when something happens. People love
But it was like
drama,
right
don't
in
they?
front of
People
your
love,
house. Is that what you were saying? Like, or
yeah. Oh, I don't know what that was. Sorry. Yeah.
I don't know where the balloons
Right
came
in
from.
front
That
of the
wasn't
house.
us, though. That
No,
was
that wasn't me either. So I
I don't
think
know what
that's
that was.
but yeah, don't worry about that. Yeah, right in front of the house, very much in public. So yeah, that was another milestone we all had to have therapy for.
Oh my God.
We've all had to get over. We've all had to try and move on from. And I promise you, look at my Twitter, look at my smiles, look at my positivity.
Yeah.
There have been days that I don't want to get out of bed and I don't want to live. I don't want to do life. I'm sick of it. I'm tired of trying so hard. But I will never give up. I will never do what he did and take that selfish route to hurt people, because I would never hurt my children. I'd never hurt my family. I'd never hurt my sister. I'd never do that. And that's why I live now for positivity. And that's why I live now and do what I do, bringing awareness. It's not always easy talking about your story, and it's not always easy dealing with other people's problems when they're similar to yours. It's hard.
You're
But I
doing
will
fine.
never
You're
stop
doing more
doing
than
it.
fine, Julie. Trust me, you are.
I'll never stop doing it,
Well,
because I will never want anyone to go through what we've been through.
and that's something that's etched
And I know
indelibly
there's others.
in your. I mean, and then you decide, like, in other words, and I've said this maybe a few times over the course of the years, talking to different people all over the world, actually, and I don't always say that, but you were doing something where you could have easily have went through that trauma after years and years, walked away, time for Julie to heal, time for me, or go fall in a bottle somewhere and just start drinking. And you didn't do that. You said, you know what? You flipped the switch and you said, I can't stop what has happened already, but I can stop, or at least be involved in something positive for not just yourself and your growth and your healing, but for others. That is a very unselfish thing to do. Nobody, and I mean nobody on planet Earth, would have blamed you from walking away and wanting to be quote unquote normal again, and trying to just bury that or heal from it. How I mean, that's something that's obviously going to stick with you the rest of your life, but you didn't do that.
Mm.
The fact that you said, you know what, I'm going to help other people. I'm going to raise awareness. I mean, you had the autism thing to do on top of that, and you're a warrior, and you're a lot stronger than you probably ever thought you were. I sensed that the first 20 seconds I spoke to you, Julie, and you're not fake. You're not like smiling on the outside because you're hurting really bad. No, it's like, look, I'm trying to be like this, but yeah, I come with a lot of emotional distress and
Oh,
everything. But
dude.
I know, but you're talking about it. You're saying what needs to be said, and now people know, and you're helping other people with the website and everything else. Bring the website back up. I mean, you're a goddamn warrior. Nah, you are.
And everybody, I work with an amazing team. We're called Peer Aid, and I work with some. I'm very lucky that I work with, some amazing people who have had the same kind of lived experience as me, either as gamblers or as people who've been affected by gambling. And I have so much respect for every single one of them. And a lot of our peer aid service is run on volunteers,
Hmm.
people who do the training and come on as volunteers to help others, because they've worked their way through this program. They've got better, they're in recovery, and now they know they can give back and help other people. And they are amazing, So I work for an amazing service. I
Yeah.
work with some amazing people. And our volunteers are just fabulous.
Yeah, I see
And,
volunteering right there. It says volunteer with us. Join our
yeah, and
team.
it's not a paid job.
Well, yeah, volunteer. I know, but it says and help support our services in a meaningful role. A meaningful role, not
Yeah,
just come
and it
on in and
is.
collect money. It's
No,
volunteers
no,
provide a
no.
volunteers provide a
You
hugely
get
important.
training. It's all training and city and guilds. It's all a certificate. It's all good training they can take away or put on their CVs or resumes. But they do some fabulous work helping other people with their problems with gambling, or as family members has affected others. So, you know, I'm not wasting my time. I'm doing good stuff.
Yeah, you are.
Did I want this job? No, of course I didn't. I didn't want to be working here. I didn't want this job. But life took me this way, and I'm here, and I'm making the best of it. And I just want to say I'm so proud of my two children. They, again, through the ages that they went through this, they could have fell apart.
Yeah.
God knows what they could be right now. This country isn't at its best, but they are both trying their best, and they are both amazing young adults. And I am so proud to have their love and have their respect. And it's not been easy. It's not been easy at all,
Oh my
but
God, farthest from easy.
it's
Yeah.
worth it.
And do you feel that
And
they're
as I
well
say, bet
adjusted
no more.
now, or
We're a work in progress. You know,
okay,
we
fair enough.
go week to week, anniversary to anniversary, situation to situation,
Do they get
but we've got each other.
therapy?
We're
I
like,
mean, is that something that you've done, like where you went in addition to that to get some kind of
I
mental
made
health?
sure. The problem with me is I'm a mum, so I dealt and looked after everyone else before me.
Of course.
Made sure everyone else was okay before me. I went back to work 2 days after that situation because I wouldn't have been paid otherwise, and I couldn't afford not to be paid because of the debt that was left behind.
Hmm.
And made sure that everyone else was okay and money was raised and whatever. And I only went into therapy September of last year. But it was the best therapy I ever had. A charity in the UK called Suicide and Co. And they gave me a therapist for 12 weeks for a nominal fee. And I ended up doing 16 weeks with him because my story was a little bit bigger than normal. And
Yeah, you can
it
say
was an
that again.
amazing,
That's yeah.
it was an amazing opportunity, and it was very, very helpful. And I'm pleased that I got to look after myself eventually. Bit late, but
Nah, it's never
I
too
did
late,
it in the
Julie.
end.
Come on, you know that. And by the way, just from what you've told us, my viewers, my audience here, and for yourself, this wasn't something new. You were already that type of person prior to all this bad things or bad stuff happening with your family, with yourself, with the gambling, with just life in general. When you say, "Well, I'm a mom," you said, "So I wanted to, make sure that my kids." That wasn't something that you just started doing after this terrible tragedy. You had been like that your entire life. That's
Uh,
what you're saying. I mean, right? You stuck by your husband no matter what, under the most
yeah.
craziest of circumstances, putting yourself in physical harm, in harm's way. Your children are there. There's no money. There's no food. There's no way out. Everyone thinks everything's great and everything's wonderful on the outside. Now your house is flagged. You have things that are coming in with paperwork saying, how come this? And there's questions and you have to work and you can't be there. I mean, and I'm just what I've gotten out of it. But yet here we are. You're sitting here. We have the website up. You have volunteers of people. You're trying to raise awareness for that people are not alone. There's an 800, well, what we would call here an 800 on the bottom, but it says National Gambling Hotline or
Gambling
Helpline.
helpline.
Yeah.
That's a 24/7, 365 helpline in this country for anyone,
Okay.
whether they be like me as an affected other or have issues with gambling, can ring that number and
Okay.
they will get them probably in the first instance some clinical help to help them through some therapy with whatever issues. And then from there, they usually are referred into somewhere like Bet No More, so we can continue to look after them in a more holistic kind of moving forward way to help them move forward past their gambling harms or their gambling and onto a healthier, better future.
Do you feel, and that's well put, by the way, do you feel that aside from the website, I see the legal on there, the support us, fundraise for us, donate, challenge events, corporate partnerships, anything that you can do, which when we'll talk off air, because I might be able to help with that a little bit. I'd be happy to. I see there's a link where it says useful links right here for those that can watch and that are listening, but I will describe it. It says useful links. It's underneath the National Gambling Helpline. It says our services, immediate help, your situation, and then support providers. You've broken it up individually like that because it's not one size fits all. It's not cookie cutter as we call it here. I might be needing the first one or the third one, and you might be this, and then I don't have kids, but I've been through that, or I don't want to gamble and I'm nervous. What do I do? It seems like you can address all these different things on that one website.
If we can't help, we will signpost on to those who can. So we literally give gambling peer support, affected other peer support. But if somebody is in a financial difficulty or anything like that, we have got the partners that we can signpost these people on to people who can help. So we can look after them for their peer support for the gambling issues or the gambling harms, and then we can find them the help for any other issues they have. So if it's domestic violence, if it's finances, if it's, other things, we can find them the partners that will help them through the other bits and pieces, So
Yeah.
WorkSafe is what we do in industries. So if McDonald's wanted us to come in and talk to their staff and teach them about gambling harms, this is our WorkSafe program. So in the UK, any industry that is beginning to learn that gambling harms or affected others could be a part of people missing days work, not working properly, how many people go to prison in this country a year because they've committed fraud because of their gambling harms? Let's stop the fraud happening beforehand. Let these industries get us in. Let us do the WorkSafe program with them. Let us work and teach them about what you to look for, or to give people all you need is a safe space. If certain all industries gave their employees a safe space to come into, non-judgmental, safe space that they can come in and say, listen, I'm doing or I'm having, and be able to talk to someone knowing they could then be put forward to Bet No More through the WorkSafe program,
Right.
and be looked after and helped. It would be amazing, but it's still so, the shame and the stigma around gambling harm is still massive. People talk about drugs and alcohol and smoking and those kind of things.
Right.
People still do not want to open up about gambling harm. And this is why I have to, and all the people that work with me and around me in the NGSN have to keep working so hard, because we have to get people, GPs, doctors, hospitals, police, probation services, prison services, all understanding, looking for, and talking about gambling harm.
Yeah, that was as I wanted to mention it, but you beat me to it, and I'm glad that you did, because it's was the next thing that I was going to see as we say as we were wrapping it up right about now. But I know, because we spoke about this. I touched on it. You agreed with me. Actually, you brought it up, and I agreed with it when you said, you hear about, not taking away from any of this other things, but Alcoholics Anonymous, not drugs, all the different things that people do, domestic violence, and everything, child trafficking. I mean, there's no shortage of evil in this world, obviously,
No,
and
sadly, absolutely.
and I wanted to make certain that people know that we already said gambling isn't even as destructive as it is. Obviously, I don't need to tell you that, but people, I don't think, realize that, oh, well, that might not be as bad as like someone that's an alcoholic. Because sometimes it's a combination of all those things, but it's not even in the top three when people think of something, like they think of Alcoholics Anonymous, and they should. But this is about, what? Don't forget that gambling is just as bad, especially now in 2024 and beyond, where you could do everything. You don't have to leave the house to be self-destructive, apparently. I think that that's good, because we spoke about that. You're like, no, it's not even like, I don't think people are taking it serious enough that it should be in that category, but it damn well should be. And you're making sure that it stays there. Am I right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because when you're arrested, when you go to hospital, when you are taken into prison, when you are going to see your family doctor, they should be asking you about your gambling harm. Have you had any gambling harm? If you're not asking the questions, I'm not saying everyone would tell the truth, but if you're not asking the question, you're not going to get any kind of answer, because it is a hidden addiction. If you're drunk, someone can see it. If you're drugged, someone can see
Right.
it. But you can't see a person hiding behind a screen or hiding behind a phone, gambling away their life 12 hours a day.
It's a good point.
It's hidden.
That's a good point. Yeah. That's saying someone like, oh, well, they have something on the inside, but you're not seeing it outside. Everything must be just fine and dandy. Yeah, there is no visual part of it, but it certainly can chomp up and eat up at your soul.
Yeah. Your son or your daughter could be sat next to you on the sofa with their phone, like they do now with technology. You think they're on Insta or they're on X. They could be on a gambling site, gambling away their college fund, gambling away their work money, gambling away their life savings. You don't know.
How are your children getting along right now? What I mean by getting along is, how are they doing?
They're doing so well. I am exceptionally proud of them both. I struggle. I'm on my own, and sometimes I get very frustrated about being on my own, because I can't, I've got to be mum and dad, and I can't give them what mum and dad can give them. I'm on one wage. I'm looking after the house and everything, but they don't react to that. They don't see that. I think they just see that I love them very much, and I'm
You're a
very, very
strong
proud of
woman.
them both.
Yeah, I mean, and they owe everything to their mom. They really do. But you put everyone else in front of you. You've gone through all this trauma. You continue to. It's a work in progress, like you said before, and I believe you. But the fact that, once again, that's how we started and that's how we're going to end. The fact that you're sitting here and you're able to look into a camera and not hide and not be withdrawn and having to do and be mom and
Never.
dad. You got to be two people because
Mhm.
the love for your children is oozing right through this computer screen. I kid you not. You could see it in your eyes. I took psychology. I did. And you could just say that, when you're saying certain things, your eyebrow moves, your forehead moves, little earmarks of that people that might not know that it's you're telling the truth. You're
Mm.
being sincere. Is there ever a time where you feel that you're being selfish because you're thinking about you? Because that answer, I could answer that one myself. I'm qualified for that one. The answer is no. You have to care about Julie. You can't help anyone else if you got your own mental health, your own stability. It's okay to
Mm.
care about you. I mean, tell our audience out there that if they've gone through anything that's even remotely like this, what would be to close, what would be your best advice aside from the website we know, and we'll flash all that and we'll do all that again? What would you tell somebody that's going through something like that currently, something that wasn't there when this was going on to you, maybe can help avoid that pitfall? What would you tell them, Julie?
If you go through any kind of trauma, whatever that may be, it could be just a bereavement, it could be a divorce, it could be an addiction, whatever that trauma is, you are capable of looking after other people, but you must look after yourself and make yourself priority. I've had to learn that and learn that the hard way. And that has taken me a lot of years, a lot of antidepressants, a lot of bad situations in doctor's surgeries. I could have made that better knowing the type of person I am. Had I have realised I could still have done everything I did and help everybody I did, but still looked after myself a bit more, which is what I've learned to try and start doing now. And it's not bad to be selfish, because it's not selfish, because you're still giving your love while you're looking after yourself.
I don't think we could end any better than that. Thank you so much, Julie. I know. Let me give you a couple of words of my wisdom, if I may. Not only are you inspiring, your words are you're intense. That's what we like here on the Meat Machine Radio Show. I mean, don't this is not for wimps. It's not for the faint of heart. But you are so well adjusted. Even if I'm not 100% on that, it doesn't matter. You're not fake, is what I'm saying. You're going to walk past somebody in London. You're going to talk to, when we play this tape back here in the States and beyond, and we have Canada and all those type of places, you are going to be able to help people that you would never meet, that you don't know, that you've never seen. They could walk right by you and you wouldn't even know. But rest assured, once this tape goes out and this becomes public, as far as I know, you've been on other shows. We plan on doing something a little bit different, and we'll probably have you back at some time in the future. I
Mm.
know that you can get some satisfaction, that not only your kindness and the way that you are, the way you present yourself, I think that that's kudos. That's a testament to how your parents raised you. I think it's the fact that you are way stronger than you probably ever thought. You are inspiring to others that you will never even meet. You probably just helped a bunch of people that you don't even know. How does that feel, Julie?
It's what I need to do. It's what I need to do to wake up every day. So I know that sounds a bit corny, but
Not at
genuinely,
all.
I can't do what I do if it's not helping other people.
And that's
So
Julie Martin
the
in an
most
eggshell right there.
important.
That's
Thank you very much for the opportunity to share.
anytime, Julie. I appreciate you being here with here, on WGAT. Like I said, we're going to play this tape again, and we're going to have it on YouTube and Spotify and iHeart. And that's the beauty of the internet. One of the great things is that you could be in London, you could be in Australia, you could be anywhere, and be able to listen in on this show and in this particular interview. I'm not going to forget it. We do a lot of them, but you're going to stick with me, and that's it's not such a bad thing. You got the meme machine in your corner, Julie. Anything that you need, you contact us. You know that. I
Thank you.
once again thank you so much. My best to your family, to your children, and especially to you. You're a real person. Okay. Don't ever forget that. I know that you won't, but you are so strong and so inspiring that I stopped questioning why people drop in my lap and come into my life. I stopped questioning it and I just go with it. And I am damn glad that I know who you are. I'm honored to be in your life. Thank you so much, Julie.
Thank you very much.
Be well. Talk to you soon. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Was that young lady was Julie Martin. Oh, she still is Julie Martin. She's not on the screen anymore, but it doesn't get more real than that, does it? We did not script it. You have her contact information, everything. We did it. We're unscripted, we're unfiltered. And you could tell she was holding back a little bit, not by what she was saying, but trying to keep it together and everything. That takes a lot of strength. Trust me, to be on camera, to be on audio in the New York, New Jersey area, which is a very large market here. And so if you're listening to the sound of my voice and hers, you know that this is not something that's pre-recorded and we have this big script of what we could say or not say. I gave her the floor and she grabbed it with two hands and she just ran with it. I admire her. I do. I wanted to thank the people that are coming in from WGAT at 88.6 FM right here on the Mean Machine Radio Show. I have been your host and will continue to be. My name is Gregory Joseph, and I want to say on behalf of us here in the great state of New Jersey, in the United States of America, we want to say once again a special thank you to Miss Julie Martin. And by the way, we'll run her things right now again for those that are able to put a radio out there. The one that I've been listening in that were unaware of that, it is www.betnowmore.org. That's www.betnowmore.org. And of course, you can follow Julie on Twitter or X, and it's at capital J, capital T, Roshupa. That's what I say. I can be Spanish at this point. Speaking of English, if you are in that area, there is going to the website, all the different things that are on there. If you can check it out, it looks like it's very user friendly and easy to navigate, yet it encapsulates a lot of great information at the same time. So you can follow Julie on Twitter and you can find her on there. She's on all the different social media website right there. And of course, we can contact you or help you get in contact with her if you have something viable. I am Gregory Joseph at meanmachineradio.com. We are also on TikTok, Instagram, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and of course, the Mean Machine Radio Show on YouTube. So you can throw us a follow on Twitter and check out what's going on here, which is at, my God. You see that on there? Look at that. It's just so welcoming. I'm sorry, I just stopped like mid-sentence, but it is. It's really a great. I mean, I'm blown away by how great that this website is. It's simple yet complex at the same time. Really cool. Like stop the mid sentence there. Anyway, our handle for Twitter is WGAT Mean Radio. So make sure you check us out. And for the final time, thank you to the lovely Julie Martin. She's a trooper. She is a warrior. And now she's become a friend. So I just wanted to say goodnight out there, people, because you know what? There's always going to be someone, if you know where to look, we try to broker those conversations and we try to contact, to keep you in contact, or if you don't know where to turn to and, that kind of stuff. That's something that we love bridging the gap on because everybody can use a little bit of help once in a while. And you can let the Mean Machine get you to the promised land. We'll get you in the right direction. We'll point you in the right direction. Not a problem at all. And that's what we did today. So I just say thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And once again, this has been a presentation of Intalia Media and Mean Machine Radio Network. And of course, meanmachineradio.com. We will talk to you soon. Have a great night, people. Stay safe out there. And if you can't be good, get mean.